Evening, everybody. This is a meeting of the Finance Committee, Wednesday, October 15th, 2025, at 6:30 p.m. We're starting now because Jay is here for the CPA budget to be used for small grants. So I make a motion that we take this off the table and let Jay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Jay, why don't you go ahead and tell us about the,
Madam Chair, please identify the participants.
was that,
That was Howie. He asked you to identify the council.
I didn't
that
see-
here?
Counselor Graney is here. Go ahead, Jay.
Thank you so much. This is our small grants proposal. The CPA had done this in the past. The basic outline is that it would be CPA funds not to exceed $3,000 for projects that would not to exceed $6,000. And the thought behind it is just to try to make it a little bit more accessible for people. I think we have, rightly so, a kind of a rigorous process. We were giving taxpayer dollars away, and I think we want to be respectful of that. But we're trying to make the process a little bit more user friendly, and there are a number of, I think, smaller projects throughout our city that this may apply to. Veterans plaques in particular is one thing that I've heard. So that's the basic outline of it. The request was for $15,000, and
Okay. Anybody have any questions of Jay? Counselor Jordan?
Yeah, Jay, my only concern before when this first it's been a number of years since it did it, but last, and I can see why you're trying to do it. You're trying to streamline it. You're trying to be efficient. I've given this a lot of thought, and I think if you guys are amenable to a basic approach, from what I heard was that you'll follow up. If we were to approve this, you guys would follow up with us to let us know where the money went, what were the projects approved, and maybe we try it for, come back as a year and then see how it goes. And this way, because, the whole theory of concern is normally it's you guys vet the projects, you bring them for the council to approve, and then we approve them or disapprove them. This is a little different. Here we're in advance, not knowing what the projects are, we're approving them. But you're saying any one project would be a max of 3,000?
from us, yeah, and the project size couldn't be more than 6,000.
6,000, okay. So theoretically, you could do 5 $3,000 projects theoretically?
Correct, yep.
Okay. And so I've given this a lot of consideration to say I think we should allow you to do this, and I'm going to support it. And I think I would ask just that you follow up with us when you do get it. We try it for a year, see how it goes. And the reason I'm basically going along with that is I've been very impressed with the strength of your board, you in particular, as the chair. I know you put in a lot of time and you very thoroughly vet these things. So that inspires a lot of confidence here. So I do appreciate that. So in that spirit, although I had my earlier reservations, I am going to support this. Thank you.
I also would like to say that Counselor Bacon is here and Counselor Meg McGrath-Smith. So Meg, I don't know if you need to say anything, but I think we're ready to approve this. Meg?
She's on mute. There's.
Oh.
Yes, absolutely. It's fine by me. I was just here in case anyone had any questions.
Okay. Any
Motion to
more
approve.
questions?
Second.
Motion to approve. All those in favor? Aye. We're doing the CPA. Okay. There you go, Jay.
Thank you so much. I
very
appreciate it.
And you'll
Have a
get
good
back
night.
to us in a year, you
Yeah,
said?
I'll keep good communication about the process.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We just started because Jay was here.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay. Should we, I'd like to, not recess. what do I want to wait until the rest of the people get here.
Okay,
So what's it called?
Well, we
The only problem
we could
is-
do item one, right?
Oh, yeah.
Minutes.
Okay, we can do the
Okay.
minutes, all right.
Motion to take
So,
up item one?
all those in favor?
Aye.
Any problems with the minutes of September 29th, 2025?
I'm not aware of any, so I'd be
Mm.
in favor of approving them.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. And one thing I wanted to talk, and we can do it now, a lot of these things have to do with the same thing. And we're waiting for, I guess, the mayor and the auditor. But what I wanted to do was take up items 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10 as a package, because they're all talking about the same thing.
Okay.
As far as item number 8, that's the mayor's supplemental budget. I think it'll probably be easier to just receive that, and then if people have questions during the term, they can do that. So if everybody's in agreement, I'll make a motion that we take up item 8 and receive it, and that is from City Auditor Tanya Wodiak, Mayor's FY 2026 Supplemental Budget Communication and Budget Book, and that we take that up, and if anybody, after they look through it, we can do it at another finance meeting. We can have people in and question it. Anybody have a problem?
Nope.
Okay, so
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So, I'm not sure what you want to do because, well, Rory's here, but I think the mayor's supposed to be here. Yeah, I think he's gonna be here. Is that right, Rory? The mayor's gonna be here? Yeah. So, can we, I don't want to use the word table. How do we recess the meeting until they come
Do we
in?
play like elevator music?
Or,
Please hold.
all right, you know what I can do? I can read, no, there is a phrase.
No, it's like a recess,
Yeah.
but, you know,
Well, how about if I read 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10?
all right.
Okay, so, a motion to take up 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10, and I will read each one of those. Okay, item 3 is from Joshua Garcia, communication regarding letters from DLS, which we've all received. Item 4 is 10/7/25 from Mayor Joshua Garcia, letter from Division of Local Services. We've received that. Item 5 from Mayor 10/7/25 from Mayor Joshua Garcia, letter from the Division of Local Services, City of Holyoke, notice of actions necessary for conformity. Item 6 from 10/7/25, Councilor Jordan, in order to receive contract and scope with Open Architects and for TJ Plant, and the mayor to provide regular updates to the city council on progress. And just so you'll know, TJ is here, he's online. And item 7 from Councilor Jordan, order that the mayor, auditor, and city treasurer provide an update to the city council on filing of the Schedule A and to the DLS. Item 9 from 10/7/25, Councilor Jordan, the mayor, auditor, and city treasurer provide an update to the city council on the closing of FY 24 and 25 audit and certification of free cash. And the last one, item 10, from 3/4/25, Councilor Jordan and Vacan, ordered that the treasurer, auditor, and mayor please come to the Finance Committee to discuss the Schedule A year-end reconciliation for fiscal year 2024 has not yet been filed with the state. Failure to make this end-of-the-year filing timely potentially jeopardizes our future state aid payments, cash flow, and the certification of free cash. This filing was due on November 30th and is still, I think you want to say 2024? It says, was due on November 30th. So that should be
Correct.
2024.
2025 was the most recent one was due.
Yeah, but not, okay, I get what you're saying, and is still unfiled.
Correct.
It should be noted that it was filed many months late last year and appears to be late again. Let's discuss, please, how we can get this back on track. So the mayor is here, and I also see President Tessa Murphy Ramboletti. I don't think I'm missing any other counselors. So Mayor, and Rory, if you want to come in, what we did was we put items 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10 together. You can take a copy if you'd like of the agenda, if you need it. And we're ready to talk about all of them at the same time. Is there anybody else you're expecting?
I was just going to ask, Tanya's not online?
I don't see her.
She was expected to come to this meeting.
Okay,
All right, we'll take care of that.
I don't see her. TJ Plant is online. C,
Cinder?
yep,
Online?
Cinder's
Okay.
online. Counselor Mike Bissonette. So that's it. So I think if everybody's in agreement, we can have, Mayor, if you'd like to speak first, or if you'd like to speak first, Treasurer, go at it, and then we can all take turns with any questions we might have. But I would caution people, in a nice way, that everybody probably has questions. So, if you can just limit your questions to a certain amount of time, and then we'll come back to you. Does that work?
Sure.
Okay. All right, who would like to speak first?
I'm going to go first. Oh. I mean, I really don't. I just want to dive into the question and answer portion. I think I've said a lot between now and probably the last 3.5 years or so. The path and the strategies we put forward are pretty clear, and I'm looking forward to have. I'm hoping for a meaningful conversation to establish an alignment so that we can get some progress. But really, I think you're going to hear more from. I was expecting the auditor to be here. I don't know where she is, and we'll look into that tomorrow. But I do have TJ and Cinder and obviously the treasurer here, who are probably going to be doing most of the technical unpacking of what's in front of us, so that we can understand why and how and the where and the how come, and then hopefully get over that so we can get to the alignment of where we are now and how we can proceed forward, so we can achieve the obligations expected from us. So before passing it to Rory, I know one of the agenda items, a contract from Open Architects. It's still in draft form. I'm waiting for the final version, so I still don't have it yet to share with you. But like I said, TJ is here, who has the draft in front of him and can
That's item number 6.
go over and talk about how he is going to be helping us moving forward. So with that being said, Madam Chair, if you want to pass it over to the Treasurer.
And then we'll have Rory Casey speak. And also, just a question of mine, is this something we would have Cinder talk about? And also, and TJ's here, so go ahead, Rory.
Thank you. So actually, I prepared some written remarks, if I could read a statement for a moment. Thank you. Chair Devine, members of the Finance Committee, and counselors, thank you for the opportunity to address the issues that have brought us here this evening. These issues are serious, but unfortunately they're not new. I look forward to a thorough conversation that is both transparent and productive. That said, there have been a few items posted on social media and mentioned at the last meeting that I feel must be addressed. Namely, that these types of issues have only happened recently and will somehow be fixed simply by replacing one department head. That structural reforms are not necessary because we have never had these issues before. The issues we face are not new. They have happened many times over the years, too many times, in fact. Some recent examples include the fact that for 6 of the past 8 years, the city has been late in filing its Schedule A. 5 of those years resulted in local aid being withheld, and 1 we were unable to set a tax rate until 4 months after bills should have been sent. We have also faced negative free cash as a result of weak internal controls related to grant reporting and revenue recognition. This is not a recent phenomenon. We are all aware of the reports that DLS and the IG have issued over the years, reports that stated clearly that while much of the work needed to focus on the Treasurer's office, every financial office was in need of reform. This is directly from the 2007 DLS report.
Did you say 2007?
2007 DLS report, and I quote, "Under this structure, the notion of a strong mayor is illusory. In reality, the mayor does not function as a fully empowered central authority who can demand that jobs get done, nor can he hold elected department heads or those officers appointed by the city council accountable for their actions or inactions. In fact, none of the financial officers are appointed by the mayor or report to him. This lack of authority severely limits the ability of the mayor to impose sound financial management practices, to coordinate activities of city departments, or to ensure that personnel policies are equitably applied to all city employees. Also impacted is his ability to implement citywide initiatives with goals to improve services, complete projects, and generally advance the quality of life in Holyoke." End quote. That report was issued 17 years and 10 months ago, 6,514 days. The sad reality is it could have been written today. And while some of the issues first raised in 2007 have only recently been rectified under the leadership of Mayor Garcia, he is facing the same structural issues Mayor Sullivan did during his 10-year term. In addition, the management letters of our annual outside audits have shown the same material weaknesses for more than 2 decades. That is why at least 3 mayors over the past 18 years have all sought to strengthen the financial operations in the city by enacting policy recommendations of the DLS. While each report may have provided slightly different paths to achieve this, they were all clear. Centralize the financial operations under a Director of Finance, or CAFO. Ensure that all financial department heads are held accountable, no matter who appoints them, and strengthen internal controls through better communication and use of technology. In each of these reports, the very first step was to change the position of treasurer from elected to appointed. This was not only to establish basic credentials, which are, of course, important. The change was to ensure that whoever held the office would be held accountable for their actions and for the day-to-day operations, and most importantly, operate as part of a centralized finance team. This change was attempted at least twice since the 2007 DLS report. First in 2011 as part of the Charter Commission ballot question, which failed along with the whole package. It was tried again in 2015, failing by a slim margin, because the treasurer at the time and their predecessor both campaigned against it, because the council was to be the main appointing authority with no other plans to adopt the DLS guidance to centralize operations. Having had a front row seat to see the issues that necessitate this change, as well as seeing past efforts fail, I decided to apply for the position when the treasurer resigned their seat early. My goal was simple: appoint me for 12 to 18 months to help get the tax title program back on track, manage day-to-day staff operations, and assist the office with better utilization of technology. This was to happen on a parallel track where I would help to campaign for the passage of the ballot initiative to change the position and support a broader package of reforms. Once the change happened and the additional ordinances and charter changes were made, I would step aside. With election season upon us, this is now being framed as the mayor simply appointing a friend. Nonsense. I called and spoke with many councilors prior to applying and spoke frankly about what my plan for the office was. I was also clear about some of my own deficiencies, the more complex accounting functions being among them. I was told that the city had procured Mass Munifin, to assist the office with catch-up work, such as reconciliations and cash book management. This is not to suggest that whoever took the role would be absolved of this responsibility, but that it would be more about project management than performing some of the more specialized tasks. Ultimately, I was appointed by a majority of the City Council. Today, some are claiming that my appointment was somehow misguided, that another candidate should have been chosen. I was selected over one other candidate. This candidate had no experience in municipal finance, was retired, lived in Pennsylvania, and had only heard of the position while visiting his daughter, and was confused as to why the city treasurer kept a cash book and while the auditor kept a separate general ledger. As the letters from DLS illustrate, this is a pretty important and basic understanding to have. And I don't mean this to be a criticism of the other candidate. He certainly had qualifications, and he meant well. My point is simply this: the suggestion that the issues we are now facing could have been entirely avoided by selecting the other candidate is absurd on its face. It's not serious, it's political. While we're on the subject of qualifications, let me remind everyone that the treasurer whose term I originally was appointed by the council to fill had a bachelor's degree in accounting, an MBA from one of the top accounting schools in the country, and was a certified Massachusetts treasurer collector. Those sound like pretty impressive credentials to me. If some of the arguments I'm hearing were true, and that the office simply needed was a qualified person, then my immediate predecessor would have had no issues doing the job. However, she came to the same understanding that DLS and others did. The structure needs to be updated. Here's a sample of what I walked into on day one of my job. The turnover of daily cash receipts to the auditor was months behind, spanning 2 fiscal years. The fiscal 21 audit was not complete, and the closing of fiscal 22 hadn't even started, nor had the audit. Office staff were not trained on the most basic functions. The IRS was after us for filings going back multiple years. Our AP and payroll check printing system was at the end of life and needing to be updated and reconfigured. And perhaps most concerning, tax titles had been mismanaged for years, which meant our tax collector had to file 3 years' worth of liens, or else we would have lost out on the ability to collect millions in back taxes. At the same time, enforcement and collection efforts had stalled. Repayment agreements were made on a handshake and with no backup, and land court actions had stopped almost entirely. In fact, the firm, Mass Munifin, that was procured to assist with general treasury operations was originally brought in on a simple contract to assist that former treasurer with cash reconciliation in order to file the fiscal 21 free cash, which didn't take place until April of fiscal 22. There's more, but we don't have all night. But there is another talking point I would like to address. Some are now claiming that Mass Munifin was brought in at an exorbitant expense simply to train the office staff, that they should have had everything turned around for the amount of money that was spent. Again, inaccuracies like this are expected to come up during campaign season, but couldn't be further from the truth. As I mentioned, the firm was first brought in to assist the former treasurer with cash reconciliations to close out fiscal 21. They were then procured to provide a whole suite of treasury services, including audit support and reconciliations. When the new contract started, they immediately got to work, spending countless hours cleaning up the issues that had been left by previous treasurers. And before anyone wants to criticize the need for contracted support, both the assessor and the auditor regularly use outside consultants to support the work in their office. I do not bring this up to slight them or the good work of their offices. The reality is that Holyoke is one of few communities that does this, especially of our size. The reason we need this contracted support is because of the siloed nature of our offices, combined with antiquated finance systems and workflows. It is also not unprecedented to bring in contractors to assist when the city is in dire straits. The council as a whole failed to appoint a qualified auditor from 2014 to 2018, when our current auditor was recruited and appointed. And at this time, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the work of our auditor, Tanya Dobiak, and her assistant, Sharon Bittner-Wills. Tanya and I don't always see eye to eye, and we occasionally bump heads, but she inherited a mess. Not just in the state she found her office in 2018, but the antiquated way that the city conducts business and depends on outside assistance. Prior to Tanya's arrival, an individual was appointed with no experience in municipal finance or advanced accounting, resulting in variances north of $20 million, a delay in filing free cash, an unbalanced budget, and an inability to set a tax rate on time. At that time, Clifton Larson Allen was brought in to perform the work of the auditor and to assist the treasurer. Prior to that, when a former elected treasurer's office fell behind, the city procured the services of a local CPA firm at least twice to perform the reconciliations. This took close to 12 months to complete. There were plenty of other issues, such as undeposited checks, department heads not showing up to work, money going missing, fraudulent payments made, and so on. And this is not in the distant past. It all happened within the past 15 to 20 years. After only 8 months of Mass Munifin being here and working together, real progress was being made. The fiscal 21 and 22 audits were complete. The fiscal 23 audit work had begun, and fiscal 22 free cash had been certified. Cash receipts were back on track, and bank reconciliations were being completed. However, when time came for the city to appropriate the next year of Mass Munifin's contract, it was denied. During those subcommittee meetings, I made it very clear that if they were dismissed, it would send us back months, if not years, that we would be risking state intervention, that the work that they were performing was not simply like patching a hole in a roof. It was a complete gut renovation, tearing everything back to the studs and rebuilding the foundation. Unfortunately, the council and others felt that it was not a worthy investment, and the firm was dismissed. Ultimately, by August of 2023, it was clear that the treasurer's home rule question was not going to be placed on that year's municipal ballot, as had been my expectation, and that the very support that was put in place to assist with the technical aspects of the position was going away. At this point, I faced a decision: run for the elected role or step aside entirely. I waited right up until the last day that nomination papers were due to make my decision. Would someone else run? Would some of those in this very chamber who now place the blame for all of Holyoke's financial woes at my feet support someone who was, in fact, more qualified? At around 3:30 that day, I received a call from the clerk asking if I was intending on returning my papers. I was the only person in the city who took them out. This meant if I did not hand them in, it could be left to some random write-in candidate. This would have meant possibly turning the keys to a $180 million candy store to someone wholly unqualified and with unknown integrity. Maybe even someone who was not willing to support the change from elected to appointed. Because of these reasons, I did hand in my papers. I was on the ballot and received 3,208 votes. What this means is that the same voters that put each counselor in their seat today put me in mine. And like each of you, that is a responsibility I take quite seriously. It is also why any suggestion that my friends gave me this job as some kind of gift is false and misleading. I have never claimed to be the most qualified person to be a municipal treasurer. When I endorsed the campaign to change the treasurer to an appointed position, I asked the public to fire me. That was my slogan: fire me. My point was to illustrate the absurdity that I should have ever been elected, that my being sworn in was proof enough that the position should be an elected one. Well, that may have been a hook to grab voters' attention, and it did. It was never framed as the last step. If the vote passed, the next step would be working on a broader package of reforms that would modernize the city's financial operations. This wasn't just discussed on the campaign trail or in the press. it was also discussed in these very chambers. First, when there was a compromise to have the council, rather than the mayor, appoint the treasurer. The mayor said he would agree to that language with the understanding the council would approve a CAFO. It was also discussed each time that a councilor filed an order related to this topic that any decision on reorganization, other financial offices, needed to wait until we understood the will of the voters. The voters spoke close to 10 months ago. I'd also like to address comments made that the effort to pass a broader set of reforms are simply to deflect accountability, and that I am refusing to take responsibility for the current state of the office. That may be the most upsetting to hear. I've never shied away from taking responsibility for the outcome of my actions, including the deficiencies we currently face. At a certain point, I made a decision that we could either simply clean up the mess I inherited or work to restructure the office and its workflows in a way to ensure this would never happen again, no matter who is leading it. While that may not seem like the right decision to some, I'm confident that the changes we have made will benefit the city for years to come. This includes the collection of millions of dollars in back taxes, growing the newly established OPEB trust from $10,000 to over $1.1 million in less than a year. Record returns on investments, including general fund interest income that was used to reduce the tax levy and save taxpayers money. And while there is more I can point to, it is meaningless in the face of our current situation. At the same time, there's certainly bad past practices that I consciously allowed to continue. This is due to the foolhardy belief that the council would finally adopt the other sections of the DLS guidance once the treasurer vote passed, that the system would be changing, and that we would collectively be tackling the cleaning up as a cohesive team. But those changes haven't happened and have been roundly criticized by some as too much, unnecessary, and really just about the need of appointing a qualified treasurer. I'd ask everybody to answer these questions. If this type of change is too big, then why would more than half of Massachusetts communities, as small as 2,500 people and as large as 150,000, centralize their financial operations? If these changes were unnecessary, why would the September letter from DLS cite our inability to adopt them as one of their major concerns and reasons we find ourselves in this situation? If this was simply about qualifications for one position, why would they continue to come up consistently no matter who holds the position of treasurer, auditor, assessor, tax collector, or their credentials? Maybe someone has a good answer, but I certainly do not. It is baffling that a plan that has been recommended by the state at least 4 times over 20 years, endorsed by financial advisors, rating agencies, including Standard & Poor's, and outside auditors would have faced this level of resistance. That a plan that reduces the size of government, saves the taxpayers money, improves services for residents and business owners cannot pass, especially after a number of concessions that strengthened the independence of CAFO, guaranteed a greater appointment power to the council, and even expanded that power to positions outside of financial offices. Even more wild is how this is now being framed as a mayoral power grab that would create an unaffordable government. To be crystal clear, this plan would have cut over $100,000 from the bottom line of the budget and reduced the total number of full-time employees of the city. 2 things that many councilors bring up at budget time but now seem to reject. And again, since it's election season, I completely understand how some good hyperbole might catch the attentions of residents, but it simply is not true. What is true is this. At this point, there's little hope that the current council will be able to pass these necessary changes. There's enough blame to go around, as to why we are here, so I will not point fingers at any individual or group of counselors. My only hope is that the new council who will be voted on in November and take office in January will be able to make the necessary changes prior to Monday, February 2nd. That is the day that the elected treasurer position will cease to exist, and I will have to leave office. Until then, I plan on rolling up my sleeves, working with anyone willing to help, and solve these issues in order to get back on track. Thank you.
Thank you, Rory. I'd also like to welcome Israel Rivera is here, and the auditor is here as well. Tanya, I know you just got here, so I'm not sure if you want to say anything. What we were doing, do you have an agenda? Okay, can we?
No, I don't have an agenda. I was just here for support.
So she can see what we're doing. Thank you. We took up items 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10, okay? And whatever, the Finance Committee, do we want to talk to TJ or Cinder? What's your pleasure?
Well, I
Madam
have,
Chair,
Who's that?
I'm just letting you know I'm here, Counselor Anderson
Thank you,
Burgos.
thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you.
So who do you want to speak? TJ or Cinder?
I have one procedural question, and then I actually wanted to kind of get more of I wanted to lay out some of my questions or / concerns, I guess,
But
would be
we're going to do that.
observations.
We'll let
Yeah.
you do that.
Okay.
But first, I wanted to see if you wanted to have Cinder speak or TJ speak, and then we can ask questions and comments.
Okay. Did they want to say
Who
anything?
do we want?
Yeah, whatever. TJ or Cinder, yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, I can jump in just so you guys get an
Okay.
understanding of the scope
Thank you.
of kind of what it is we're recommending as this is, morphing into trying to make sure we get through, the different votes and different things that need to happen. But our big thing is fiscal stability, long-term sustainability, making sure the city's got a strong fiscal health. Working with the school department and municipal school finances for an overall operating budget, financial controls, transparency, and, budget documents and preparation and all that stuff that goes into reporting financially out to the city council, the certification of sustainability of appropriations and contracts that exceed 1 year to make sure that all the decisions that are being made by both the council and the mayor are sustainable. Monthly revenue reports, expenditure reports, all those variance reports, payroll projections that come with it. Develop the annual budget to ensure departments are involved, reviewed, and the budget is balanced and ready to go for the Department of Revenue. Recommend any changes to the budget and transfers that might happen or a supplemental appropriation that might be needed that would come to the council. And then just really focus on the fiscal policies across the departments, making sure they're strong and sound and all that stuff. And then really the big parts of this one is internal controls and independent financial analysis. And has been big for me in my career, big for me in what the mayor and from what I understand the council's looking for. And then doing some detailed collective bargaining analysis for when you're in negotiations to make sure that the labor cost is affordable. So those are the big areas that we have. Just so this group knows and in full transparency, I've been contacted by DLS about the 2 letters that everyone's talking about by both Deb Wagner and Sean Cronin, and we've discussed kind of ways to help and how to get there. Open Architects, is half the firm is the data firm, the other half is the consulting side, which is me and a few other people. But the data side, we just got all the data. I think it was yesterday, Rory, for us to take a look. I can't promise we can automate it, but we might be able to automate this and just do some reconciliations with relative speed with the data team we have. And so I committed to the mayor and his team that we would look at the data we have, ask questions, and it'll be essentially reconciling to zero if it works out, or exception-based reporting, which says, hey, like, we flagged this, someone's got to look at this. Like, if it doesn't tie out the right way based upon Munis, based upon the cash book, based upon the bank statement. So we are fully prepared to do this. Our contract is in final draft. My boss has it. And I shared a version of it with the mayor and Rory and the team, just so they knew kind of where we're going, to make sure we're on the same, heading in the same direction. We're happy to help and be a transition till whether Holyoke figures out if they want a permanent CAFO or not, but we're happy to help out and provide a need, because I know DOR is coming down hard on Holyoke, and we just need to kind of figure that out. So it really comes down to, what do we do to help move Holyoke forward?
Thank you. Cinder, is there anything that you'd like to say before we open it up to the Finance Committee? All right, I think you're on mute.
Oh, I am, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, so the city right now has no ready market access. We managed, and so it's had to be, and that's because it doesn't have it. The 23 audit's not complete. And the auditors couldn't come up with an opinion. They've got the worst kind of an opinion you could give on an audit, which is basically they disclaimed their ability to give an opinion. So the audit is left open and not finalized, and we're hoping that it could be finalized once a cash reconciliation could be completed. That would be credible. What has happened in the meantime, there's no 24 audit, and there's no 25. We can't complete the 20. The city can't complete the 25 audit until the 24 audit is done. The city's rating was downgraded by Moody's in 2022, and then in 24 it was withdrawn. There is no rating by Moody's right now. It was withdrawn for lack of information in June of 24. Ideally, we would get it reinstated, but there's no way to get it reinstated without the 23, 24, and by the time we would attempt to have those, we would need the 25 audit. The city had $32 million in short-term notes outstanding that mature on October 24th of this month, and it's taken us 6 months to figure out how to take those notes out. We have successfully gotten with the use of the State Qualified Bond Act. It's the State Aid Intercept Program. The city's state aid is being intercepted right now on the bonds that could permanently finance those notes. There is no long-term bond market access right now. We did manage using that security, not the city's own credibility or security or credit worthiness, because that's all been withdrawn for the lack of information available right now for rating agencies or investors or anyone else to know exactly where the city stands. But we did manage through the State Qualified Bond Act program, which was created to provide some market access. It did work. We got the notes rated and we did renew them for a year. So hopefully in the next year, all of what we're talking about could get corrected and the city can get on the right track and help itself. The rating agencies, both Moody's and Standard & Poor's, have taken the position that they won't rate any note or bond if there is no audit within the 13 months of the year that ended. So for example, if there's no 25 fiscal audit by July 1, 26, then all municipalities in the state will not be able to get a rating on any kind of note or bond that they want to issue. And then they would have to issue debt based on their own credit without a rating if they don't have a timely audit. The problem is for Holyoke, there's no ready information. There's no 23 audit, there's no 24 audit. It doesn't matter. At this point, it's unlikely that the 25 audit will be timely. That all of this catching up can be accomplished in, of just a couple months. And I agree, it's been going on. I've worked with the city for a really long time. Cash reconciliation has been a problem that goes back decades. I think this is an opportunity for the city to tackle what it needs to do in order to move forward, because you're not going to move forward. The rating, even Moody's rating has been withdrawn, but when it gets reinstated, it'd be nice to think it would be investment grade, or that, it went from an A1 to an A2 and then it was withdrawn. Standard & Poor's still has a rating, but we didn't go to them because we assumed that if they heard about the status of the audits, that they would pull the rating for lack of information. The rating agencies are regulated. They have to report to to federal agencies, and they're required to provide timely information to investors so that investors can decide if they're going to invest in the city. So at this point, other than what the city has out in notes that it managed just now after a 6-month effort to renew for a year, other than that, the city doesn't have ready market access to any more money for any kind of a capital need that the city might have. I mean, this is really a dire situation that the city's got itself in right now. I can't think of any community in the state that has a situation as bad as this right now, and the city really needs to do everything it can to fix this so that it restores what TJ was saying, stability, but also so that it restores its reputation and its credibility that it needs for all sorts of purposes, not just to borrow money, but to basically for the value of property in the city, for the investment in the city by any industry that might have an interest in moving there. This is all of this is critical to the success of that kind of an effort that has to come together. It can get worse, but it's really pretty bad right now. And I guess I don't want, there's an opportunity right now with starting with this and with the DOR's help and all of the direction that the city is getting, that there's an opportunity right now to jump on making this better and doing whatever you have to, whatever it costs to make it better so that you can move into the future. That's really all I have to share. I came on to mostly just to listen.
Okay, thank you. Cinder, Counselor Sullivan has a quick question.
Okay.
I'm a little confused on the timeline here. Did I understand correctly? We've had no credit rating at all since June of '24.
Correct. Not with Moody's.
Not with Moody's.
Right. You still have one with Standard & Poor's, but if they know what's been going on with the audit, what happened was Moody's did a surveillance, and they downgraded the rating of a number of issuers, not just Holyoke, but a number of issuers where there was a lack of relatively current information, meaning audits, in order for them to feel confident that they were representing investors with providing them current information. The rating agency provides ratings so that investors know, that investors rely on when they make investments. So they withdrew, that took place across the country, but they withdrew Holyoke in Massachusetts. Holyoke was one of just a couple communities that had its rating pulled, and it's one of the only communities that didn't get its rating reinstated at this point. And it can't get its rating reinstated because of lack of audited information.
Why are we just hearing 16 months later that our rating was pulled?
Why weren't we notified?
Well, it's been public information.
Out of control again.
I don't know why the city council hasn't heard about it, but,
Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
it's not, it's something that I think the city has known. It's not, but it still has had its Standard & Poor's rating. All of this is blown up with not being able to get the 23 audit completed.
Okay,
And
thank
you
you.
can't get, until the 23 audit can get completed with the reconciliation of cash and credibility with regard to that matter, then the 24 audit can't get done.
I understand,
And-
I understand
yeah,
all that,
so-
I understand all that. I'm just curious how we go 16 months having a credit rating pulled and no one in the city was notified?
No, the city knew. Rating agency notified the city. Rating agency issued a release of all of the ratings that were withdrawn in Massachusetts and specifics. I think there's a rating report that was from December 13th of 2022 relative to the downgrade. And then again, the rating in June of 24, it was released, all the ratings that were withdrawn on account of this. Moody's evidently, I think they telephoned, according to them, they telephoned and they emailed the information about the withdrawal.
Okay, thank you.
Rory Casey wanted to say
Yeah,
something, and
the
then we'll get
Moody's-
into.
There might have been some
other
confusion, but the
counselors.
Moody's report was not only filed with the council, there was a press release about it, there was articles about it at the time, and I have some recollection of us even coming in and talking about it at a finance meeting. We can go back and double check, but it certainly was filed as a communication when that came through.
Okay, what I'd like to do is there's several city councilors online, so one, I just want to ask them if they'd like to ask a question or speak, to raise their hand, okay? And what we'll do now is we'll go through the Finance Committee, and of course, any city councilors that are here in the chambers, if they'd like to ask a question or say something. The only thing I would urge you to do is limit your questions or statements for, say, 5 minutes. We can always come back to you for the second 5, but I want everybody to have an opportunity to speak or to ask questions. So, anybody on this side, my right side, have any questions? Carmen or, okay, Mike, are you all set? Counselor Jordan, and just, if we can do it in.
Well, I don't know, the treasurer might have taken 15 or 20 minutes
Yeah, and he
there.
has a right to do that. I'm just
But
telling.
I only have 5?
I'm just trying to tell you that other people
No,
want to
that's
speak.
fine, and I agree with you. I think 5 at a time is fine, no problem. So the first thing I'd like to address this evening is the transfer, a review of the transfer from the last city council meeting. I had an that paid for the TJ Plant contract. It was, people need to go back and watch the tape on that, what occurred on the approval of that transfer. One is the vote took place 10 minutes after the council had already adjourned under rule, number one. Number two, the council, when I asked if the council was voting to approve the $137,000 for TJ's firm, I was told, no, this is the vote on just to reconsider our action. Okay, and we voted 11-1 to reconsider. It's all on tape. Just play the tape. And then there's never a vote after that to actually approve the money for the $137,000. So what occurred in that meeting is emblematic of what's going on here overall. It's just not attention to detail on a lot of these things. And that's another example. That's going to have to be rectified by the council because even the money for TJ hasn't been officially approved. So hopefully that's going to come up at the next city council meeting so we can deal with that and dispense with that. But
Excuse me, Counselor, what are you showing there? Do we all have a copy of whatever that was?
These are my notes,
Okay, those are yours, okay.
but this is just my notes from the videotape.
That's okay, I
Yeah.
just wasn't sure if we were all supposed to have that.
No,
Okay.
this is my notes.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, next point is a lot of this, I totally agree with the treasurer. This is all political. That we know for sure. Okay, that's one thing we're all in agreement on. I have never in my life seen a chief executive and other people and high level officials here attacking people of this city council who are trying to do their job and trying to hold this government accountable. And it makes it absolutely now crystal clear why they're absolutely desperate to get me out of here. Because the question is, if we can only get the watchdog out of here, you got to ask yourself at that point, what is it that they don't want you to see? Because as you can hear from this obvious conversation, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and it's apparently imploding. As we say, I'm just learning now, we don't even have a bond rating since June of 2024. So let's come back to, the discussion about should we have CAFO, should we not, and some of this interesting revisionist history that has occurred here since 2007. The first one is nowhere in the 2007 DOR report does it ever say have a CAFO. It says have an appointed treasurer. And so, as it was correctly pointed out, it went before a vote twice, and it didn't happen. Now, that's unfortunate. We did finally get that approved. I think we're all in agreement on that. However, we do need to have appointed a very qualified treasurer. And unfortunately, we had an opportunity to have a qualified treasurer 3 years ago, but I and others in the minority were outvoted on that vote. There was a gentleman by the name of Michael Hansen, who was a CPA, okay? It's kind of interesting to hear people downgrading this guy. This guy is a certified public accountant who's a homeowner in the city of Holyoke, who happened to be living in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and wanted to relocate back to the city of Holyoke, all right? This guy has about 40 years of senior level financial experience. Here's his resume. This guy wasn't picked. This gentleman was picked. 0 financial education, 0 financial experience. So this was all about, when it's obvious what happened, it's we know this guy, he's our friend, he was taken care of. That's exactly what happened. All of this was discussed in open session in 2022. Everything that we said would occur by not having a qualified person is in part occurring. This was the number one decision from the new administration to put their first stamp on the financial decision of who's going to be in the leadership of the finances of this city, and that was who was picked. That does not inspire confidence to then say, let's consolidate more financial power under the mayor, which is what the CAFO seeks to do, and then have this person, what, is somebody else's friend? How do we have any confidence from this 2022 pick that the next one's going to be qualified?
Counselor, do you have a question for anybody?
No, this is all in comment.
You're pontificating.
Oh, so when other people speak, it's illuminating and they're right, but when I speak, you're going to interrupt me and call it pontification.
Because if I don't interrupt you...
This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is all, so the public understands, this is about consolidation of power, shut down anybody that opposes what's going on, bring these things of transparency to the light for the public, and get me and others that would dare question the super executive out of here. That's why it's getting as vicious as it possibly can. It's unprecedented. That also is unprecedented. Unprecedented viciousness, nastiness, all kinds of maligning and defamation occurring, and here we are. So I'll wait, I'll stop there, I'll let others go, and then when it's my turn again, I've got more.
Israel Rivera has his hand up. Oh, did you want to speak first, Counselor? Okay. Israel Rivera, you have your hand up?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Let me lower my hand first. Thank you. First, I want to say thank you to Rory for taking on some of the responsibilities that he was willing to take on and taking on the role. Thank you for TJ. Thank you to Cinder too as well. I want to thank a lot of people on the ordinance committee, on the charter and rules committee, some of the council members, some of the department heads as well, that have been working diligently hard on making sure that we're trying to keep up to date and changing and altering our financial modernization package, so that way we can literally fall in line with some of the things that were passed in the legislature in 2016 with the Municipal Modernization Financial Modernization Act, right? I think what's for me that stands out is we bring up a resume of someone from 3 years ago. Again, this is deflection. Again, we're back to smoke and mirrors. We're gonna bring up other situations, grasp at straws, to not talk about the fact at hand, what we're facing right now, not solve the solution that we're facing at the moment. Even on Facebook and all the stuff everyone's talking about, the viciousness that we're referring to, the calling counselors out by name, even though they complain about it. This is all coming because it's the end of an era. It is the end of an era, and they are kicking and screaming because it is the end of an era. So I want to thank everyone that is trying to move our city forward, Holyoke forward, pa'lante, right? Because the idea here is, right, we are trying to get things done, resolve solutions that have not been resolved in almost 15, 20 years. But you want to scream loud and do all this crazy barking as a fiscal watchdog, as a particular individual that's been on the council. Not just one, there's many of them that have been on the council for a long time. We have make pretend unions giving endorsements when there's no actual application for others to apply, right? Like, this is all friends giving friends things. But when we're talking about politics here in the council chambers, only certain people do that. They don't do that behind the scenes though, right? Like, let's be real. Let's get together and talk about solutions. Tonight's meeting is about talking about solutions. TJ's here, Cinder's here, and Rory's here about talking about solutions. Let's try to do that. When we talk about and campaign moving forward, it should be on issues. It should be on issues. And this all should be talking about what we're gonna do to help the city move forward. I have still not heard that from any of the councilors that are against what we're doing with the Modernization Act. Like, I don't understand how they want to move forward other than changing other rules that got nothing to do with financial modernization. Like, again, that's a power grab. If you want to be mayor, run for mayor, man. That's it, straight up. Thank you.
Okay, Counselor Givner and then Counselor Anderson Burgos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I just wanted to revisit, just so we're clear, because I've heard a lot of things, and I thought our treasurer's breakdown of the different time periods of what's been going on were great. I just wanted to ask, how, it sounds like we have a solution. We know how to fix the problems. We have some recommendations on the table that, for whatever reason, we keep refusing to consider. Can I just get you to share again, how many times has this municipal modernization sort of approach been proposed? I know you said there was a report in 2007 that it sounds like that kind of pointed out that we were about to have a problem, and it seems like we've probably been kind of snowballing this problem since then. But how many times have what solutions been proposed by which organization since 2007?
Sure. So I'm going to go from memory. And Councilor Jourdain is correct in his assessment of the 2007 report. While it does not specifically state that a central finance office be created, what it does say is it points out all the deficiencies because of the siloed approach, and goes on to say that they encourage the city to invite DLS to come in and do a top-down management review, which subsequently did happen. And that was when the idea of a finance director or a CAFO was first introduced. They've been here on 4 different occasions, DLS, which is the Division of Local Services, Department of Revenue. They are responsible for all aspects of municipal finance for all 351 communities in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The people that work there are not political appointees. They are experts in their field. Sean Cronin, who was mentioned, who is currently one of the heads of that division, has probably been working for the Commonwealth for close to 30 years and has seen situations far worse than Holyoke, and understands exactly what Holyoke needs to do to move forward. That is why on multiple times, at no expense to the city, did they deploy an entire team to come in, interview staff, observe what was going on. This wasn't a cookie cutter approach. They spent hours here. I personally, in different roles, have participated in 2 of these. Once when I worked in the mayor's office, and a second time while I was treasurer, where they came in and they did this. They're in the office day in and day out, reviewing everything, interviewing not just department heads, but the staff in those offices as well, and coming up with a series of recommendations. So they've done it multiple times. And that would really be the main body that we would want to look to. Some of the other groups that have come in and made recommendations, well, maybe not as specific, like in order to do this, do that, right? Like hire this person or reorganize this way. We look at the management letters of our audits going back over 2 decades. And it cites so many of these issues, right? It says that there needs to be better communication between offices. It says that there needs to be more focus put on certain functions, that there needs to be a cohesive approach to tackle these issues, that the issues that we're facing, unlike in other communities, even unlike in Springfield, where the issues they faced were a matter of not having enough cash on hand to make payroll or to pay off debt or what have you. That isn't what we face here. You heard what Cinder said. It's about reporting. It's about not being able to produce the proper reports in a timely fashion. That is our biggest hurdle. And that is what the state has come in time and time again. Councilor Vacan makes a comment that I agree with in her assessment of the Municipal Modernization Act, which is before the council right now, which is essentially, it's like moving chairs around on the deck of a ship. That's exactly correct. It's about saying that we have probably the right people working for the city in different roles. If we could reorganize them, if we could have one head of the Department of Finance that could oversee all of these operations, that we would be able to work much more efficiently and we would be able to accomplish these things in a very timely fashion, right? So that is something the state has been telling us to do for close to 2 decades. The management letters that I cite go back much farther than that. And if you read, and I know that people in here have, if you go back and reread that 2007 letter, I will tell you right now, not just in the treasurer's office, many different offices, some of those same things are happening. Some of those same issues are here. They haven't been addressed. You might have brief moments in time where you see some progress and we feel good about that, but it doesn't last. It doesn't last. And so hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
If I may. So I guess, because I mean, the attention span can be pretty short for everyone, public, administrators. I mean, I can only imagine as city employees, city councilors come and go, and vice versa for city councilors. You watch city employees come and go as head of departments, et cetera. It's hard to hold people accountable for things, but I wonder if has been going on for close to 20 years, and if some of these letters have been coming out for longer than 20 years about management issues with the audits, you're obviously getting pushback, so it seems like the city administrators are getting pushback from the city council, and I understand the pushback oftentimes because, I understand it always comes back to the taxpayers, and everything costs money. But if we don't fix things, things cost more money. That's just my humble opinion. So I guess I wonder what exactly the pushback is all the time to like justify not making changes and not creating any kind of structure that allows for a CAFO-like or let's call it something else, a lead administrator outside of the mayor who can deal with the finances. Because it sounds, for me, and I'm a newer to the council, but every place I've ever worked, every school I've ever gone to, every city I've ever lived in, they've always had someone in charge of the finances. Why? Because you need money to do things. It's kind of the most important part of everything. If somebody's not running the money, who knows what they're doing, you can't do anything. And I like to talk about infrastructure because, without infrastructure, there's no civilization. We can't pay for things if we haven't figured out how to pay for things. So what is the pushback exactly, and why can't we get something done about this? What is it?
Are you asking my opinion?
Yeah.
I mean,
for 20 years, it's been the same argument. We need a new lead administrator.
I think
I'm going to talk. Lon's up.
I'll be as brief as possible, and I promise. There's natural in any form of government where you have a legislative and an executive, there's going to be a natural, friction, right? That's going to exist anywhere. We accept that. That's normal. But that is one of the reasons why. I think things haven't happened, is because of that. There's been different mayors, there's been different councilors, there's been different priorities over the year. What has not changed, however, are the recommendations. That has never changed. The recommendations have always been the same. And the reason I brought up the 2015 vote that failed, and it failed by a slim margin, and I'm not going to say whether or not I agree with the approach that those former treasurers took. But it was simply that they didn't feel that it should be one more role for the council to appoint when you had all of these letters saying that the mayor really has no authority over anybody. Elected, appointed, there's no authority over those offices. And so those treasurers took that stance. Now, if folks remember, fast forward to myself being in this role now, sitting in this room, having a conversation before the ballot went up. The mayor and I actually had a little bit of a disagreement in front of the council over the importance that we needed to get this on the ballot. That with the understanding that we were going to move towards a centralized finance, whatever we want to call it, you're right. Call it a CAFO, call it a CFO, call it a director of finance, it doesn't matter. That was the compromise. That was how we were able to move things forward. And, people asked me, I had people I know reach out to me and say, well, don't you think it's just one more appointment of the council? And I said, it's all right, because I have faith in this council's ability to do the right thing and appoint somebody and move forward with the CAFO. And it doesn't matter at that point who appoints who, because you have one person in charge, right? You're going to have one person in charge of the team.
Yes, thank you very much.
I'll put you on the list.
Thank you.
Juan Anderson, Burgos, and Councilor Sullivan, and then
I'm sorry, I think the microphone's off because I can't.
Yeah, mine was off, sorry about that.
Okay, no, it's okay. I just wanted to make sure. I thought I heard your voice. Were you calling on me?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam President. Oops, sorry. Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess, what I want to start off is clarifying a point. I want to make a point that I don't feel that the treasurer or the mayor was saying anything defamatory. I don't know if people know what the definition to defamatory is, but it's certainly not what I just heard. And then I'm going to ask a question because I have a lot of concerns and I'm not sure who I want to address it to. I mean, it could be the mayor, it could be Rory, TJ, or Cinder. I guess my question might have two parts. How close are we to state receivership? Because as an elected official, I need to make sure my constituents know how dangerous that is for a city. So I need to know, how close are we to state receivership? If any one of you can answer that, and then I'll ask the next question.
Anybody have an answer?
Madam Chair, do you want me to take a stab at it? Because I lived this life for quite a while in Springfield.
I welcome it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I can't answer how close you are. I just know there's concern at the Department of Revenue's DLS's level that they're monitoring and pushing back real hard to start getting results that they haven't seen in a few years. When they heard that Open Architects was going to come in and help, if we could agree to the contract and the scope of work, which we're 99% there, they were like, okay, we know, because I've seen this play before. So I know exactly what Rory's saying. I know exactly what the mayor's feeling, just for those particular moments. And then for the city council, I know there's information that, you may have received, may not have received. I'm not going to judge on any of that, but there's definitely a concern. Receivership, I think we can avoid that if we get our fiscal house in order. And that's really what we need to do, is to merge all the pieces of the finance team into one unified vision of assessing, procurement, treasury, collector, all that stuff that just, hey, we're on the same team, we're on the same vision, and we're gonna do a budget that everybody's aware of. We're gonna do trainings, we're gonna do a review of munis, we're gonna do a review of workflow in munis. We're gonna look at all that stuff and just streamline it, make it efficient, figure out if there's areas of opportunity and improvement, and make recommendations to the mayor and city council. So I can't say if you're close or not close, but I can just say DOR is definitely concerned.
Okay,
My second part, thank you so much for that. My second part is, if we do go into state receivership, what will that look like for the taxpayers, for the city as a whole? Like a cost, in other words. Will people be losing their homes? And this is including elderly, because they are on a fixed income. So my concern is for people who are on a fixed income, who are barely making the payments. If this goes through, and if we go into state receivership, how are they going to be able to afford to stay in those homes? Because what I'm hearing, that if we go into state receivership, the cost is mind-blowing. I need a concrete answer that this is true. I need someone to tell me, yes, it is true, the potential risk and how much it's going to cost the taxpayer, the constituents of this city.
I can add something to this part of the conversation. I don't think the city has to be thinking about receivership. I think the city has to think about, how do we fix the problem ourselves. Receivership would just mean that the city would lose control of itself. I think that the city wants to have control of its future, but it's not gonna, it will put itself at risk if it doesn't take control of its future. And what's been happening is a lack of control of the future of the city's financial health. There's like it's being said, I mean, the city has to address getting its financial house in order, and there's no reason to think then that there would be any kind of need for receivership. But if the city can't do it for itself,
Then what's that look
then
like?
at some point, who knows if the state would step in, but it's not, the state could correct the situation. I don't think the city wants the state to correct it. I think the city should want to correct it itself.
Right,
The
but
city's
what,
got the wherewithal to do that.
what I'm trying to find out is the cost, because I'm hearing the
The
cost.
cost, the big,
Receivership.
I don't think you have to have, I mean, the cost of correcting your situation is what you have to do. The cost of borrowing money to operate or to finance what you want to finance, primarily it would be capital, is going to go up if in fact you don't manage your situation and all your
Right.
ratings are pulled and you don't have access to markets.
Right.
And there's a mechanism in Massachusetts which does provide access to some markets, but the city has to do its part. I mean, we have to be able to disclose that the city is taking charge of fixing its problems.
So what I'm
And
hearing, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
Counselor,
that's, I don't want to, I could just say that over and over again till it really
Right,
sinks in.
so what I'm hearing is avoid state receivership at all costs.
That's the best
Yes.
thing to do, because you don't want to lose city council power.
No,
You
and
don't
I
wanna lose
completely,
school committee power.
right,
You
and I
don't wanna
completely understand that. So then, my last point I'm
Counselor-
going to make, yeah, I'm gonna make one more last point and then I'm done.
and then it's,
And the last point I'm gonna make is I need our constituents to watch the city council meeting on October 7th. If you go to YouTube and you look it up, it starts at 2 hours, 59 minutes and 35 seconds. Listen to what that conversation sounds like and then make a decision. Thank you.
okay, Counselor Sullivan.
So the questions just raised by this counselor about the cost of receivership, avoiding receivership, the path to receivership is just some kind of scare tactic. I took the liberty of calling Sean Cronin myself and asked that question directly to Sean Cronin. For people that don't know, Sean is the Senior Deputy Commissioner, the number 2 person in DLS. Nothing that we are doing right now puts us on the path to receivership. All the state would do is send someone in to do the 10 things that are listed on this and get back out again. His exact quote, the state's not in the business of running cities. All right? So there's zero risk of that happening. Zero risk. So all conversations about the cost of this, the threat of this, so how do we avoid this, the path of this, no, that's all hyperbole. All right? I want to be perfectly clear about that. And the only difference would be the state would pay somebody to do it and withhold the funds from us, or we do it ourselves. And guess what? Sean Cronin said they would probably use TJ Plant. He recommended him very highly. He says he's one of that Open Architects is the best in the business. They've been at this a long time, and that we should have complete confidence in what they do. It's only a matter of who pays for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. That was good information. Counselor Vacan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a couple of things. As we know, the vote by the citizens relative to appointing a treasurer establishing minimum qualifications for eligibility passed in November. And it was unfortunate that that vote was delayed. Prior to that, there were some people who didn't want the vote to go to the public. Then in the summer, there were delays, and then we missed the window to be able to get it through the State House. And we had a very pointed and documented meeting about that after that happened, because we were not aware in August that we were going to end up in that place, those of us who were advocating for the vote. But nonetheless, the vote did happen, and now it happened almost a year ago. My perception of the debates that we've been having is that there's been one camp wedded to one solution to the problem and another camp questioning that solution. In the meantime, the voters weighed in. One thing that we can all do today, if we can get it moved out of ordinance, is appoint the treasurer, as our treasurer has said that he advocated for. And I know you did because I heard you. So that is one concrete step that we could take once we have to clean up our vote relative to the consulting contract. But once that happens, I don't see any reason why we would not move ahead and appoint the treasurer, a qualified treasurer, while we have a consultant available offering that wraparound, or however you want to frame it, quarterbacking ability. So I urge us as a council to do that. My other point is I do not involve myself in the day-to-day operations of the city, but it's my understanding if a department has budgetary positions and lines that aren't filled, that they can bring in account temps or whoever is out there in the business to do the work of the office, if it's a tough recruiting environment, which I know for many positions it can be. But that's my first point. The second thing is I just want to confirm with TJ Plant what I think I heard. So my understanding at our city council meeting was that your firm would not be doing the reconciliations, that someone else would have to come in and do them. But tonight I'm hearing that your firm would be doing the reconciliations. I just want to make sure I'm not making something up. I just want to make sure.
We are gonna try, take the data that you have to see if we can automate it the way we do all of our dashboards and all of our other reporting for health insurance and everything else. So we have a vision in mind. Rory provided the data to us so we can actually take a look at it tomorrow and see if our team can pull together a reconciliation that can just automate it. So if we figure it out, if we set it and forget it, if I need more information, I'm going to call Rory and the mayor and whomever else I need to call to get the information in a format that we need. But data is what we do primarily. So this is something after talking to the mayor and talking to Rory and talking to the team, this is something that we think we can figure out because we've done not treasury stuff. This is probably our first foray into treasury, but health insurance and student data, teacher data, attendance data, MCAS data, all that. We've got that figured out. And so we just this was an intriguing, this isn't even part of the contract necessarily. This is more like, I know you're bringing us in to help out, but we are going to do our best to automate it and get ahead of it and get you guys back on track.
Okay, so I will say that is a very big piece of new information coming into this discussion relative to the contract, the consultation, and the function of the office. And I find that helpful. I think for now, those were my one point and my one question. Thank you.
Before I go to Councilor Jordan, I'll check with Councilor Vacan, because this is several times I hear her speak about we should be advertising for a new treasurer. So my question is, why doesn't someone file an order to have the Human Resources Department gather the qualifications and advertise?
Thank you for that question. So I filed the order to establish eligibility criteria for the treasurer before the citizens voted to approve an appointed treasurer. I did it out of a desire to be proactive so that we could start getting those things together, thinking the citizens would take our recommendation and approve the appointment. That order has been in the ordinance committee and with a draft for the language since February. I have requested, and I believe it will be on our next ordinance committee agenda. I'm hoping it will move to the council so that we can move forward. Because one of the portions, and I don't want to re-litigate the debate over the Modernization Act, but within that act, it consolidates the treasurer and the collector office. You don't take a completely messed up office and make that office consolidated with another office that is functioning well at this point, in my opinion. You get the person in there that has the qualifications, that can work with the consultant. The main letters, as I have read them, don't point only to one office, but our immediate main issues are reconciliation in the treasurer's office. So to me, we need that point person working hopefully with our consultant to do those very fundamental reconciliations as a first step. So that's where I come from on that. Ordinance committee can act on it at the next meeting. Thank you.
Okay, and
Madam Chair?
One
Madam
second.
Chair,
I'll put you
I'm
on the
not-
list.
Could I have a,
I'll put you on the list, Howie. There are several
Thank
people
you.
before you.
Thank you.
Okay, did you want to answer her?
I just wanted to, just since we're talking about reconciliations and TJ's work and kind of where things are at, I just want to be very clear, and Tanya was on a call with our outside auditors recently about this. This is what the state's looking for. It doesn't mean the work hasn't been done or isn't in progress. The 23 audit, the 23 reconciliations, which are now, being reviewed as part of the 23 audit, were handed over to our outside audit firm many months ago. We don't need to get into how they've changed hands a number of times or some of the issues other communities are facing with the same firm, because the actual individuals that Tanya and I and our teams work with on a daily basis are the same ones that have been around for a while. However, they did say to us that there was a breakdown in communication on their end to us. I thought that they had all the reconciliations for 23 and that they were in a good space. And we even have emails where they told me as much. Subsequently, 2-3 weeks ago, when we got the draft audit, that's one of the things that they cited. We reached out to them, we had a meeting with them, and we have a good plan in place to get that addressed. I wouldn't want to send anything to the state until the outside audit firm, reviews everything. 24 is in a similar state. That had already been done subsequently because of what I've learned from the 23 audits. I've met with Auditor Tanya and went over some accounts that hadn't been reconciled correctly in the past. They've been re-reconciled. There are some things that will need to get posted. What I've handed over to TJ's firm is all of that work, both the raw data and all the work that was done by my office, and is currently in the hands of our outside audit firm. And we are working with them on a daily basis to address questions that come up. I just don't want anyone to think that this work isn't currently happening, because work is currently happening. Now, the state is looking for this information. Absolutely, they should. They'll receive this information. Will it be within the 60-day period? A lot of it will depend on what we learn over the next couple of days with what TJ's doing, as well as what I'm working on independently, specifically with our outside auditor, Tanya Campbell, and going over some of that work. So I just want to make sure we can answer more questions, but since it's come up, I thought that was a natural time to at least let folks know where things are at. And I couldn't agree with Sean's, and thank you for reaching out to him. I think that was a very wise decision on your part, and not surprised. You do your research, you do your homework. I know other people do as well, but his conclusion is the same one that we've also come to, is that in the absence of anything else, and even if the council were to pass a CAFO position tomorrow, we would still want to engage with TJ's firm as the preeminent expert in the area, our neighbor who lives right down the road, to assist us with that. So thank you. And thank you, Councilor Bacon.
Can I just clarify one thing through the chair to Rory? So I'm hearing you say the reconciliations are complete. They're just not filed with the state yet? Am I understanding you correctly?
They're complete. The reconciliations were done. Our Schedule A for 23 was filed. Everything was handed over to our outside audit firm.
Right.
They reviewed it as part of the audit. What they found through their analysis was that there were certain things that were not done correctly.
In the reconciliation?
In the reconciliation.
So there's some that are outstanding?
There's some that need.
2023 and 2020?
Correct,
And you're
correct.
gonna
It's
fully
not
be-
like, correct. I don't want to give, 25 is not in that same rosy picture, right? There's still a lot of work on 25 to catch up on and like I said in my statement, I take ownership. But I also just want to set the expectation, I want it to be clear where we're at. It's not like there's a stack of bank statements sitting over here that no one's ever looked at, and we need to go through all of them.
So it's not 100%, but it's not zero.
Amen.
So would you say on a scale of 0 to 100% for 2023, are we at 50, 60, 70, 80?
Oh, no, I think
90?
we're in the 90s.
Okay,
For
2023.
2023. And in fact, most of what has been identified so far, and tomorrow I might look at a spreadsheet and realize there's something else. Most of this actually won't have any impact to the general ledger. It's that the cash reconciliations, meaning the bank account says you're supposed to have $50 in it, but your cash book says you have 50 million in it. Why is that?
Exactly.
I'm using
Yeah,
some
I know.
extreme numbers.
Yeah, I understand reconciliation.
But that's where things are at.
And then so for 2024, on the same scale, where would you
I would say, based on what I know now, based on what I've learned, because of some of these things from 23 and corrections that have had to be made, I've gone back and taken another look. I think we're, more in the 70s or maybe 80s with that. However, I've handed all the data over, and TJ's firm might come back and say, we got a lot of work to do. They might come back and say, Eureka, we figured it out. I won't know.
Well, thank you for that clarification. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We have Counselor Jordan, Counselor Rivera, and Izzy Rivera, and Counselor Graney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So a few things. One is that we need to level with the people of Holyoke. We need to have transparency when these type of issues are occurring, right? There's no press releases, there's no discussion, there's no articles in the newspaper to reassure and let the public actually know what's going on. There's these statements that are made that basically are things like, oh, this happens all the time. This is just nothing new. We have never had, I'm going to point out 4 major things that we have never had before. No reconciled cash year over year over year. Their own letter says 2023 has not been done. Okay, 23, 24, 25 to current. Unprecedented, that has never happened where we've had 3 fiscal years of unprecedented, unreconciled cash. No free cash certified for years as well. We now have 2, our 24 and 25, it would appear, certainly, we do not have free cash. And then you're given this red herring argument about, oh, don't worry, we'll get the money down the road, no big deal. We lose interest. Taxpayers lose interest on those millions of dollars. That is tens of thousands of dollars of money that would be going to Holyoke taxpayers because this free cash is not certified. And let me continue. Suspensions of local aid. 2 years in a row now, we've had months where our $7 million a year payments have been suspended. And does anybody in the room know that at this very hour, we have not received any of our local aid? $7 million a month is being held right now because this work has not been done. And that again is what's the interest on $7 million, which becomes $14 million, which becomes $21 million, $28 million. We have not received a penny since July of this fiscal year. And by the way, I think only because the state wanted to clear it off its books, it actually gave us from February to June. And that Schedule A, I don't think still has been turned in yet. The one that was due last November, and the year before that, it wasn't turned in, and our payments were delayed for 5 months. All of that is interest, and it's all nothing to see here, no problem. And then let's come back to taxes. One thing that we know about this administration, it loves to tax. I wanted to point out that in the prior 10 years, then the current people that are running the city, the tax levy was increased by $10 million over a 10-year period from fiscal year 2012 to fiscal year 2022. $10 million increase in the levy. This levy alone in the last 4 years has been increased $11 million from fiscal year 22 to what's on the page right now. And oh, by the way, taxpayers, because we don't have free cash, we don't have free cash to apply back to reduce taxes, so you have to pay more. They love to tax. They've gone up on the tax levy 19% in 4 years. That's egregious. And it's just reemphasizes why they're desperate. They will say anything, do anything, go on social media day and night. You're inviting ICE, you're inviting receivership, you're inviting everybody. We have to get you out of here because we don't want anybody telling taxpayers what's actually going on. And as far as other dandies, I could go on all night about fiscal mismanagement. I'm still can't get over the time last year when we had the school department offices. Let's all go over here. We were going to pay $850,000 to go buy that. This was all recommended by the same dream team. And that group, we almost went over there and bought that for $850,000. We stopped that here in finance. We asked for a tour and all of this. Turns out, some other lucky buyer bought it, but then that didn't happen. And then they put it out for auction. And does anybody know they could barely get $150,000 for it? And the place needed tons and tons and tons of work. So that would have been another $700,000 of your tax money. And oh, by the way, $350,000 was paid to Mass Munifin, and one of their responsibilities was to do the 2023 reconciliation. You know, the one that's right here in the October 1st letter that's still not done yet? That's very interesting. So what exactly did we get for the $350,000? We paid $300,000, besides paying his salary for $90,000, because apparently, it doesn't matter. We're paying you $90,000, $85,000 plus a $4,000 stipend, to do what you're doing for all these years on top of $350,000 for Munifin. They wanted to give Mass Munifin $600,000 more, but luckily we stopped that. And now we have, TJ's already gotten $50,000. He's going to get another $137,000. I will say, I have a lot of confidence in TJ. That's why I'm warm to his involvement in all this. But I will say, the state should definitely come up, and we should seriously consider having them do the reconciliation, the person that they select, so that we know we are getting independent reconciliations that everybody can feel confident are in fact independent and approved by the state. And then the other question that we're going to have to really investigate once we get into the new fiscal year is, when you're not getting your state aid at $7 million a month, how is it we have enough cash flow in the general fund to pay our bills and pay our salaries? We're going to have a good review of all these accounts, because that just doesn't make sense to me that we can go 7 million, 14 million, 21 million, 28 million. We've got all these extra tens of millions of dollars around that we can pay. So that's going to have to be looked in. There's a lot here for the watchdog. If there's ever a time that we need somebody to actually know, who has an MBA, who actually knows this, has 30 years of experience, that has been doing these things, we absolutely have some big decisions to make. And I think it's all the more time during these troubled times that we need real leadership who's not afraid. I am not a rubber stamp, and I will agree when things need to be done, and I've made it crystal clear. One good example is let's reach out and have the appointed treasurer, the one that's been sitting around waiting for approval for a year. Let's do that, and let's get a highly qualified person in here. And as we bring these pieces together with highly competent, that's the issue. And oh, by the way, taxpayers, you would think Holyoke just got invented recently. Somehow, how did we miraculously manage for decades and decades and decades with this same system with seemingly we never had any of those four things: massive tax increases, no suspensions of local aid, no free cash, no reconciled cash. This is all about create either incompetence, consolidation of power. This is what this is all about. What we need to do is bring in highly competent people, and then we would have the ability, once we have highly competent people in place, and to get the state satisfied, just like we always did years ago. Then at that point, we would be able to see if we need additional structural changes. That is the best way forward for this city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The mayor would like to speak. Do you want to speak?
Oh, sure.
It's up to you.
Yeah, I think.
If not, Councilor Graney, or Councilor Rivera, Councilor Graney, and then Councilor Givner. So it's up to you if you want to. I think you've been insulted enough, so.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's what I'm here for. I'm the punching bag. I take full responsibility always, even for the past 20 years of the same counselor expressing the same playbook. And in fact, a lot of the points he just made, I've rebutted and disproved or even explained over and over and over to the public, whether if it's the budget or taxes. In fact, it's reassuring when I hear from the public consistently over how transparent we have been with all of it. I know it's for the people at home watching, it's not black and white. It's very complicated stuff. We all do our best. I do my best to explain in the simplest way possible why things happen the way that they do. And all we're trying to do is, and we've said it before, government is a bottom-up institution. We have a situation here where we're heavily dependent on cooperation. I have expressed over and over on day one, even at each of the annual State of the Cities, the path and how, if we're going to get to where we want to go, it depends on council cooperation. Some of it, it's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow. We're untangling years and years and years of whatever you want to describe it, mismanagement, incompetence. I'm sure there were people in these roles who meant very well, but it's a huge learning curve for anybody to come in from the outside. Even folks, we had someone apparently from Wall Street who was the auditor. Huge learning curve for him trying to figure out, untangle what's going on here in the city of Holyoke. I think a lot of what has been presented were on the provisional. They were interim until we can get the reforms in, so we have a much stronger situation moving forward, no matter who's the next treasurer, no matter who's the mayor. Again, I think the councilors shared a lot of wind there to untangle at this moment, but again, happy to debate the issues, happy to point to reasons why and explain where we are. Some of the things he's mentioned is actually not a best practice, in fact, frowned upon by the DLS. Other points he's mentioned, yes, there's very good points, and we can go to town and explain what's going on and what are we going to do to solve these issues. But when I came in here, we came in here with one objective in mind: strengthen internal controls. It's what the voters voted for. And I love Mike to death. Him and I get along just fine. And in fact, he helps me on a lot of things. But I ran a management campaign and they voted for the very things that are in front of you is what I shared on the trail. And I've come in here in front of you from time to time again, and sometimes it feels like we never talked about some of these things. And so I quite frankly, to tell you the truth, I'm a little confused in what's going on here. And I know it's campaign season and people want to make the same points they've made during previous campaigns 20 years ago to date, and that's fine. I can be the blame, put all the responsibility on me. At the end of the day, it doesn't take away the fact that there is an expectation here from the Commonwealth. There is a path forward. I want to get there. I want to get on that path. To the point about posting the treasurer, we absolutely you can post a treasurer's position. We have an opportunity to consolidate the treasurer collector, but there is a Garcia expectation that the CAFO be passed, because I do not want to set the next treasurer for failure. Every treasurer we've gotten has been set up for failure, and we haven't been able to keep them. I'm ready to post and share 10 plus years worth of annual audits that keep pointing to those things. Those 3 DLS reports, the one from 2007, the one from 2010, and the one from 2020. These aren't anything new, and a lot of the counselors, most of them knew, we're all here dealing with it, inheriting it, and regardless on where people stand, I like to maintain a position that when we really need you guys, that you will come around. That's my position I try to hold. It's getting extremely difficult. Regardless, I'll continue to be as optimistic as possible. The good news is, like what was discussed earlier, the biggest hurdle is just not being able to do the reporting. It's not like we have this awful situation where we can't pay bills, or we can't, or there's missing money, or whatever the case. This is just in a matter of doing what we need to do to get the proper reportings in place for those that are expecting it. It's not necessarily all about having, like the treasurer explained already, it's not about one person of experience in that department. It's a systematic issue, and what was presented depends, there's some codependency of one another. If we're gonna post this position and look for a treasurer, great, that person's gonna need support. And some of the reforms that are in there were to make sure that we're moving the players around just enough that helps make what we need to get done adequate. So we're not back to square one with whoever the next treasurer will be, submitting a resignation and leaving us. Now we got to post a position. You know what I mean? We want to hit the ground running fast. We don't want to just do this and hope that we find somebody and hope they don't leave us. And then if they do, and then we got to do it again. I want to make some real changes that are going to be impactful. I think the departments that depend on us can really benefit. I think the community is going to really benefit. And I can tell you, regardless of the back and forth on the debate on the issue, I know this is what we campaigned on. This is what the voters voted for. I'm trying to be as transparent as possible every step of the way. But it's almost like it feels like I'm talking to a wall. But here we are. I'll continue to debate the issues. We'll continue to try to control narratives. I think the public has seen clearly tonight. I think I got exactly what I expected tonight and what I hoped would happen, which is great. And I'm looking forward to continue to fight on the issues out there in the trail. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilor Rivera, you did have your hand up before, did you? And you took it down. Did you want to speak?
I think, just quickly, I think just important to state, the whole modern municipality, financial modernization act that was put together, the whole document, TJ Plant helped us work on that document throughout the process, just for everyone's understanding. And I just heard vote of confidence from different counselors across the aisle here, which means that we should be able to move forward on something, right? If we are if we're all in agreement that we believe that TJ Plant is the right guy to help us moving forward. And if we are not in agreement, it kind of sounds like the state is probably going to make the decision, and it probably will be TJ Plant that will be working with us anyways moving forward. So it's important just to kind of point some of that out. And I think that for us, again, as a council moving forward, we have to continue to think about what is important, and what's important is moving the city forward. It has nothing to do with our own personal traits or things that we have going on, or even narratives that we have to keep up because we have these particular dogmas or things attached to ourselves, right? I think it's important that we keep the city at the base, the foundation of what we're trying to think of, and what we're trying to move forward with. And again, I'm only going on 4 years into this. This is still a learning process for me, and I respect all the other councilors that have been doing it for a long time. Although they may not respect me the same way. It's okay. This is part of the game. This is how we do it. But ultimately, I think what's important is that we get to that point that we fully understand that we have to move forward and get things done, whether we agree or disagree. There are going to be times where we're not going to agree. And there's more times that I vote for things that I don't agree with and move forward. But there are certain times where I got to stand my ground, and on one of this is kind of one of the topics that I felt like our financial modernization is got to be important to us. Not for me, for the sake, because I'm already old. I'm about to be 40, and for some people that's old. But like, I got kids that are 3 and 5 years old, man. And the way the state of the city is then, hopefully, it's in a different situation of where it is today, because I'm not planning on going anywhere, and I hope my kids are not either. Holyoke Public Schools is what it is, and Holyoke is what it is for me. So like, I just hope we can get to that point. Just wanted to put that out there, and I'm sorry I took so much time to say that.
It's okay, no problem. Councilor Graney.
Yeah, Madam Chair, thanks for recognizing me. I just have a relatively simple question. I think it's been answered, but, if we don't have the reconciliation and free cash for 2023, 2024, my question is, if we had an outside audit for those years, why wasn't that identified and rectified? I don't know, I could ask TJ or Cinder or Rory, if we did have an outside audit, which we've always had in the city, to identify and show us what our free cash was, why wasn't that identified at that time so that we could move forward?
Okay, the treasurer will answer that for you.
Yeah, so just so we're very clear, 23 free cash was certified. The 23 audit is in draft form. As Cinder mentioned, there was a finding. We're working on getting the reconciliations finalized so that the adverse finding will be removed, and as soon as that happens, the 23 audit would be finalized. 24 free cash has not been certified. The 24 audit has not started yet, but we're hoping to start it immediately as soon as the 23 audit is done. You're absolutely right, Counselor. These things do come up in audits. And just real quick to address something that was mentioned, that these things haven't happened before. I really would encourage every counselor, whether they've read it, and I know folks have read it in the past, probably when it first came out, and it was a long time ago. The 2007 report from the DLS, very clear. Councilor Jordan, if you want to take it out right there, you can see that for multiple years, cash reconciliations were not complete. Multiple years, tax bills were not filed on time. Multiple years, audits were being held up, and the city's ability to bond was removed. these things have happened before. Now, they haven't happened in a while, but they have happened before. There is precedent, and that is what jump-started the state over 17 years ago to try to get the city to move in a different direction.
Counselor Givner, are you all set, Counselor Graney?
Yes, yeah, fine, thanks.
Counselor Givner, and then if Counselor Anderson Burgos, you had your hand up. Okay,
Thank you.
Counselor Givner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So that was one of my questions, is like how frequently has, a late audit been filed and such? Because it was made to seem like the first time we've experienced this was in 2020, so I was curious.
No, we've had, unfortunately, our audits, in some years, it might be considered on time. Other years, it's 2 to 3 years behind. There have been audits that have been far behind, as I mentioned. In the past 8 years, 6 of those 8 years, the Schedule A was filed late. 5 of those years, state aid was withheld. And one of those years, we weren't able to even send out tax bills on time. So, and that's just in the past 8 years.
Right.
So these things have happened. And again, as I said in my statement, we've had treasurers who have had MBAs from accounting schools and certified as mass treasurer collectors. We've had people in financial positions, that have done very well, and we've had some that have not. All the while, these problems continue to exist. It is structural in nature.
Thank you, Treasurer. Yeah, I just wanted to, hear that because it sounds like, we hear over and over again that having even a qualified treasurer isn't enough. And considering our current state, it sounds like we've just kind of come to a head where we can't just continue to do the same thing that we've always done, because even though it has worked for however many, 100 plus years, something has to change. The world's a changing place. Finances change. I mean, we all experienced COVID. It's changed the financial nature of the world in general. So we're not immune to that as a city. But it sounds like not only do we need a qualified treasurer, which has been pointed out several times in this meeting, but we also still need that lead administrator of finances who that treasurer would then answer to, because there's no one that's really in charge of that who's like somebody's boss,
To your point, Counselor, and Cinder's on, and she can speak to this because she's one of the ones that asked this question. Twice in the past 4 to 6 weeks, the same question has been asked. We've been on numbers of calls. The three of us up here, along with others, have been on calls with state agencies, with Hilltop Securities, who's been our financial advisor since, the 80s, possibly even the late 70s. That's how long Cinder's been working on behalf of the city. They're hearing about these things. They are understanding where we're at. The same question is asked, and it's asked of the mayor. Who's the finance director? Who's in charge? And the mayor states, he is. The way it's set up right now, he's the finance director. And the response from Deb Wagner, who is the chief of the Bureau of Accounts, is that is not acceptable. That a mayor in this day and age cannot also hold that title in a city the size of Holyoke with a $180 million budget. Cinder made a similar statement. That this is what they're telling us. They're telling us we need to change. I will give credit where credit is due. This council finally was able to get the ballot question on. That was always the first step that needed to happen. This council put it on, and I thank every single member who voted in favor, and it passed unanimously. All 13. Whether I always agree or disagree, that is something that I will always be thankful that this council put on. In years past, even in 2015, it was a very slim vote to get it on the ballot. This council passed it unanimously. And thankfully, in their wisdom, the residents and the voters of Holyoke voted to pass it. But that was always just the first step. It was never the final step.
So, and just to complete this question, sorry. So is there a problem with how we are, or how this information is coming out of the treasurer's office or the mayor's office? I mean, since we don't have a financial person in charge to explain it to the city council in a way that helps us understand how important it is, how can it be expressed how important it is to not only make sure we have a qualified treasurer, but also someone in charge of the city's finances?
I mean, I have tried. I've tried to explain it. The mayor's tried to explain it. I don't know if TJ or Cinder might be best to answer that question because they work in communities all across the Commonwealth. So if you wanted to ask it to them.
I'm sure either of you, if you...
I'm happy to take the question, Cinder, unless you want to dive in.
No, go ahead.
All right. Yeah, so really what it comes down to in these times, and any school district and or municipality that we are in, I've been with OA for 2 years now. I've been 25 years in the industry. And, they're consolidating CFOs, financiers, whatever you want to call it, CAFO, and getting one person to pull it all together. Because if you don't have that person to pull it all together, to look at cash flow, to look at treasury, to look at collectors, to look at, whether you're doing liens or not, whether or not you're doing procurements right, and making sure that it's all the things add up and make sense for the city. And that is where everyone's going. And that is really what it comes down to. And, and that's kind of what Holyoke should be doing, is just going into a direction of, we need a point person that can pull together assessors. When you set the tax rate, I'm guessing it's a messy process. I've never watched Holyoke's process, but I'm guessing it's like every other community. It gets messy because nobody wants to raise taxes to fund the bills. And I know that's a dirty word or a messy conversation, but look at your assessments, look at your values, look at how it's happening. There's all of these questions that a dedicated person can ask to say, can we do something differently? Can we make sure we get the free cash to bring the tax rate down? I mean, these are all conversations and debates that would happen, but they need a leader that is not the mayor, that understands and been formally trained in all these areas. And that really is where Holyoke needs to go. And it doesn't have to be me, it doesn't have to be Open Architects, literally, you tell me you have somebody in mind and you want to hire someone when it passes, fine. I'm just here as a stopgap measure to help the city figure out stuff between now and when you hire somebody. This isn't long term, this isn't any of that stuff. So, but it's just really having a point person, the quarterback, if you will, of the entire financial organization and the budget process.
Thank you, yeah.
Okay, I guess I'll have Counselor Sullivan, even though there's two before him, but go ahead. No, please go ahead. Okay, Counselor Anderson Burgos, you had your hand up before. Did you still want to ask a question? Or make a
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I've received, I can't even count, I've received a lot of messages in the past 35 minutes urging me, as a friend, as a counselor, please help find some kind of balance. And I'm racking my brain here, man. I'm racking my brain because at the end of the day, I need to put my feelings on a shelf and say, forget that, and find a solution to talk to my colleagues on city council. We may disagree on a lot of things, but we definitely have to agree that there's a big, huge issue before us. And I urge every single one of you to come together find a solution, not only find a solution, but give the tools, the necessary tools for the mayor to make things right. We have that ability. If you feel that the mayor is going to do something that you don't feel that supports the city, then shouldn't that fall on the mayor? Let's give the mayor the tools to straighten this mess out. Let's make things right. Let's be city councilors. I'll promise to stop bringing up the past. I'll tone it down. If we could just get through this as a body, that is why we were elected. So please, for the love of God, let's come together and find a solution for the city that we all love. We are all fighting, but we need to be on the same field. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Bacon and then Counselor Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm a person that likes to see things happen. And I think what we've been engaged in over the last many months is a case of all or nothing. And what I would like to see is something happen. And I would, since the contract with TJ Plant and Open Architects is in draft form, I'm hoping maybe a sentence could be written in there that their firm will assist us in recruiting a qualified treasurer that would then be part of the team. Because in all of the discussions that we've had, I've been hearing that it is intended that it will be the same people who are already here. Other than, I'm going to consider TJ Plant for the moment the CAFO. But otherwise, what I've heard is that all the people that we're envisioning on this team would be the people we already have.
Except for me, just so we're clear.
Well, I should say, okay. Yes, I stand corrected in that regard.
That's all right. I just want to be clear.
But in general. So I think we can look at the situation right now that TJ Plant and Open Architects is, quote, quote, the CAFO. And let's move on getting what the people voted as a first step. Once we get one step done, then I think we're in a better place to take more steps. But right now, I just think we're like in a standoff. But anyway, that's my perspective. Thank you.
Quickly, Counselor Sullivan and then the mayor wanted to.
TJ Plant, where are you?
I'm here.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
What's the salary range for a qualified treasurer and what's the salary range for a CFO?
CFO is probably 150 to 200. A treasurer's probably 110 to 150.
Thank you. That's it.
Okay. Any other questions? And we can, oh, I'm sorry, Mayor.
No,
You
no
wanted to
worries at all.
speak.
No, I was just going to say, and just kind of remind folks, when we talked about putting the position of treasurer on the ballot, it was a long debate about who will be doing the appointing. And I compromised on that. Council, you want the appointment? Yes. All right, fine. Council appointment. And I get the CAFO. So if we're going to proceed forward and agree to go and find the treasurer and get that person appointed, I need to make sure that with it comes the ordinance passed for the CAFO. Because it just feels like, you know, my arm got twisted and now we got what we want and we're still going to hold this on you. You know what I mean? So I just want to make sure that we're in the spirit of working together. That was the basis of all of that. And I hope that if there's any outcome of tonight, we can agree to move forward with the posting as well as CAFO, because that was the genesis of the consensus at that time.
I never said.
Thank you. And just want to see if Counselor Givner's here.
She's right behind you.
Okay. Counselor Jordan, and
Yeah.
then maybe we can wrap it up and
Yeah, I
have
think-
it be complied with.
As far as what the treasurer is, I mean, that was sent to the legislature, that was approved by the voters. There's not really a lot of what that can or cannot be at this point. It pretty much that is what it is. I do appreciate the mayor speaking about the spirit of compromise. And I thought that's where this was going at one point, but then the viciousness, these personal attacks, this stuff that is just where is this coming from? That you see these statements that are made, and it's like, then it's, oh, well, let's all now just come together and let's all work as a team. Like, if those things don't happen, we can be a team, you know? And that's the issue, is we need to build trust within the government. And the reason that when I was asked to, because I want to straighten out another misleading statement that was made, which is relative to, bringing in things in the last minute and all this. There was never agreement on any component of this. What the agreement was is that if we're gonna talk about government reform, then we're going to talk about government reform. And you and I, the three of us, had a beautiful breakfast together, and we've had umpteen meetings, and TJ was at one of them, and we've had all these lovely discussions, and everything's nice and collaborative. And then it gets like somebody turns a switch near election time, and it's, I don't even recognize people now. Like, who are these people that I've been dealing with for all of a sudden? All of a sudden, it's everybody. I was just, you're sitting down with people in their office, and then days later, you're getting skewered by these same individuals. How do you have this alleged cooperation arrangement with everybody to build solutions, which everybody in here agrees we do need to have a solution? The current solution is the appointed treasurer, and then let us work towards these other reforms. But I want to also point out there's a lot of other stuff that's being twisted in the government reform. For example, changing our voting requirements, things that have been held sacred to give financial protections to residents and through their elected officials. We have the charter, and our rules have established for years the voting requirements for approving of financial matters, of ordinances. All these different safeguards have been hacked away through over the last 18 months. And I'm simply saying we need to get back to regular order, and we need to go and fix all these things as part of this package. Stuff that, for example, we've talked about recall, which you, Mayor, to your credit, was supportive of, even though I know it wasn't on the top priority of your list. I think that's fair to say, was that, we adopted that. That was supposed to go on the ballot for this year. And this thing all got blown off the tracks in June. I don't know what happened there, but there was a decision like one of my colleagues, who I won't give her name, but I'll just simply say, made the comment to me, what's the rush on all of this? Okay. Well, okay. What's the rush? I guess and then we went into summer recess, and here we are. Well, there was a momentum at one time, but people don't want to support these rules reforms and by the way, not new stuff, going back to stuff we've been doing for decades. Things like people not being employees and sitting on the city council, people trying to whittle away our ethics rules, things that counselors like me have fought for years to have high ethics in this government, okay? And I am not going to sacrifice those type of independent leadership that this government needs. One of the things we want to talk about, financial reforms, one of the biggest ones we need is an actual functioning checks and balances in this government. It's critical that we have a strong mayor, and it's critical that we have a strong city council. And I am on a mission to preserve those, as I have for decades. So those are some of the things, and we can work through these. And I do want to, and I guess in the spirit of what Anderson Burgos just said, we'll let the past be the past. But at some point, the past has to become the past, right? You gotta stop slinging arrows at people, and let's roll up our sleeves and figure these things out together. And I thought that's the trajectory you go on, because then you just read these things. It's like a funhouse mirror of different conversations that we've had. So, I will commit to do my part, and I would hope that you would do the same, and then we'll take it from there. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor, for the last time.
Okay, no
Because
problem.
we're going
Sorry,
to
Madam
close up this
Chair.
meeting and
Just to address some of
hopefully
the points,
everything's been complied
you know, the reforms that were put forward, they're reforms to address things that have come up so that we have a better operational system as far as annual audits and DLS reports. Reforms that were brought forward by Councilor Jordan at the last hour was after months of this council working together and compromising on the municipal finance modernization, not because I want them, it's because I know that's what the priority is, considering what's been presented to us by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This is what I ran on. And that's where I thought that I can be the most helpful coming in here, understanding how complicated this stuff is, coupled with the level of patience that I have to navigate the complexity of government and politics. And so as far as the debates back and forth with reforms that you have presented and some things that might have had that's a debate within this council. I didn't introduce or, that's a disagreements that I've watched meetings and heard back and forth from every member of this body, what they agree with, don't disagree with, trying to stretch, when the time came to vote on the one thing that you guys did actually collaborate and work together on, and there were a lot of new things that were presented at the last hour that caught some councilors by surprise. And at the breakfast that the three of us had, it was even before that, meeting you and I had with the council president, I expressed, I think that there might be some concerns with this, just knowing the climate of the council, and what I said was going to happen, happened. I don't have any control over that. That's just the nature of what happened. And the recall, I remember getting the recall on my desk, and my communication counselor was, yes, I want to sign this and bring it to the Commonwealth together with the municipal modernization. That was, be open, clear, and transparent. I didn't want to sign it until we had these things done so we can send them together. I didn't want to send something and then later find out that, we're not getting this other work done. And, and I just wanted to put them together in the spirit of, hey, we got this done. You got this done. Let's send this off now together and have that kind of collaborative front. No, I didn't sign it because I haven't got my changes yet. And again, my changes, when I say my changes, it's because of what's been presented to us for 20 years on structural issues that we're trying to make better for the community, so that no matter who the next mayor is, we're not setting that person up for failure. We're not having the same debate, same fights, same arguments about whose responsibility is what and who's to blame for whatever deficiencies are identified in the next, in the seventh year from now with whoever the next mayor is going to be. It's to have some sort of sustainability there. And as far as statements I've made, I stand by all my statements that I've made recently because I am mad. I am very, very frustrated with what's happening here. I've came and begged in 2 different occasions, trying to express a level of concern after waiting for 3 years, trying to get the things that I need, the tools that I need to help support the stuff that you guys want to get done. And we want to get done together. These are our constituents. I don't look at it as your constituents versus mine. The neighborhoods you represent, and when you come forward to me with concerns, we do our best to try to address them accordingly. We want to maximize on the potential so everybody does well in every corner of our city. The statements, the hard feelings, it's hard for me to, I stand by them because I can point to things, videos, previous meetings, statements, comments, there's a lot of proof already out there that we can put together in a package and prove every point I've ever made in my most recent statement. And I made that because I'm very angry right now. I want us to get to a point where we take this, and I'm not saying I don't want to say that you're not, but it feels like you're not. And I know you have your own version and perspective, what you think might be going on. But in this side of the aisle, I really, truly mean it when I say I need the alignment. I don't want the Commonwealth to overrule a decision that you guys can make on funding for support we need to come in here. In 60 days, this is a benefit for me. 60 days, we don't get it done. The Commonwealth says, hey, guess what? We're going to put on a tax rate recap, regardless of the cost. You don't need the council. But I don't want that. Like I'm trying to be transparent. I want to work with you guys so we make the decisions together here without that happening, that level of intervention. And even beyond that, and when we talk about receivership, it's a path. Cronin might have said, it's not happening. No, yeah, he's right. It's not happening. But if we continue the same pattern, the same behavior and the same pattern, and we just, the nut just only gets bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where maybe one day we might not be able to cover the next bill, right? I don't want to get there. That's not what I want for you guys, for the city of Holyoke at all. I want to be able to leave so whoever the next mayor is, whoever the next councilors are, they can, I forget the word, there's a level of sustainability, there's continuity moving forward. That's where I am.
Okay. I'd certainly like to thank everybody. I think we had a very good discussion on items 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10. As long as anybody doesn't have any questions or concerns, the time is getting late, so I thought we'd end this with everybody working together and looking for a motion that 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10 have been complied with.
So moved.
And if we need other updates, we'll just refile other orders.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
that'd be fine.
That sounds good, Patty.
Okay,
Yep.
all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you.
Okay,
Motion
a
to adjourn.
Second.
Again, thank you, everybody, and as Councilor Jordan said, if there's more to be filed, just file it.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, thank you.